like what Donald Trump is doing, generally speaking? How do they feel about the Epstein case?
It's, they're doing, yeah, this is John King style election coverage, but on Trump's Trump's allegations. This is the state of affairs. This is the dire state of affairs in the United States of America, where we're doing making Kelly some wild shit. I know, but let's do the Epstein stuff first.
From the congressional release of files related to Jeffrey Epstein, including emails in which the convicted offender mentions Donald Trump. Pressure is growing this morning for more of the Epstein files to be released by the Justice Department. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce is tracking the latest. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. And these messages are sparking fresh questions about President Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The White House denies any wrongdoing by the president, but the administration still refuses to release the full FBI files on Epstein. And now this morning on Capitol Hill, an effort to force their release is finally moving forward. This morning, as the White House downplays newly released emails from convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein repeatedly discussing President Trump, an effort on Capitol Hill to force a vote on the release of the full Epstein files, garnering its final signature. Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva sworn in after a 7-week delay, signing on to the petition to force a vote on the files' release as her first act in Congress.
I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files.
The White House is well aware Republicans in an uncomfortable position. Many of the president's supporters have previously.
Are you still talking about this Jeffrey Epstein stuff? Folks, are we still talking about it? Nobody cares about this Jeffrey Epstein fellow. Everybody knows. Everybody knows Jeffrey Epstein is a bad guy. Why are people still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? What, the hoax? Jeffrey Epstein? The finance man, the New York financier, is that who you're talking about? You're just now telling me this. You're just now telling me this. This guy, he never dies. He never dies. My favorite part is that Levitt says he was a pedophile and a creep. Meanwhile, Trump is the one who was associated with him. I don't think that helps your case. Yeah, I don't know why they're... Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been... talked about for years. Are people still talking about this guy, this creep? Unbelievable. Which Epstein are you talking about? Which one? Which one? My neighbor from Palm Springs, is that the one? The financier, the New York financier, very famous guy, loves him young, just like I do. Or are you talking about the Jeffrey Epstein that I know? My friend, my good friend, Jeffrey Epstein. That's right, believe it. Or are you talking about the bad guy? He's a bad guy. Your Trump impressions have changed? Yeah, because I was live for 17 hours yesterday and my voice is shot. Yeah, Adam Johnson. Epstein must have had some banger financial advice. Everyone who gets caught emailing him had fun last week. Winky face. Insists that they had to talk to him post-conviction because of his financial and or philanthropic advice was just too goddamn irreplaceable. He just had a knack for it, I guess. This raises a good question, says Jeet here. Is there actually any email where he's offering financial advice? Some vague donor stuff, but not really. Gates keeps giving this line. He hung out with Epstein multiple times because Epstein had access to donors for public health, and not once does anyone ask the obvious question, who specifically is this person? Who are these people who Bill Gates cannot, on his own, get in touch with? Yes. Noam Chomsky, a lot more connected to Jeffrey Epstein than we previously knew as well, by the way. Noam Chomsky literally met with Lula in prison and then connected Lula to Epstein. Libertarians, man. Freaking, dude, I'm sorry, but you got to hold that L. If you're an anarcho-syndicalist, if you're a libertarian socialist out here today, not a good day, you know? Not a good day for the lib socks. I mean, he's like 954 years old, so it is what it is, you know, at this point. But god damn. You can't be outraged by the Epstein saga and simultaneously not be outraged by the fact that we have Muslims serving in Congress. Wait, what? What does that even... I'm sorry. What the... Wait, how is this... She's just saying things that piss her off, I guess. Like, you can't be outraged by the Jeffrey Epstein stuff and then not be outraged by the fact that I was refused service at my local coffee shop earlier today. Like, what do you mean? She just said, Muslims exist. How is that a thing? This to me is the perfect distillation of all of the Israel Defense Force attitudes, right? This is the perfect summarization of it. It's like, oh yeah, you're talking about how Israel has an unimaginably connected network of espionage at the domestic level and a pervasive network of influence, a corrosive influence on American domestic affairs. But also Muslims exist. You know, there's Muslims around us, right? Remember the Muslims? Islam. Like, that's it. She just panicked. It feels like she panicked and just did the purest form of this thing that I've been talking about for like the last month or so. The Israel Advocacy Networks basically realizing that they can't do pro-Israel commentary and content anymore in the Western world. So they're deciding to just hit the Muslims line over and over again, which is pretty funny. Congratulations, I guess. Yeah, also defending Chuck Schumer. This is going to genuinely cause people to never want to associate with Laura Loomer on the right, by the way. Even on the left, there's a movement to remove all Jewish voices from politics. This is happening on the left and right. It's very calculated. Yeah, I don't think Laura Loomer and other people realize that this kind of attitude, this kind of like hysteria only breeds more resentment towards her, towards Zionists, and also Jewish people as well. Like, you're defending Chuck Schumer. Your own base is going to turn around. Your own base is going to turn around and be like, what do you... So you do care only about Jewish people, I guess, is what the response to that is going to look like. But let's continue with the Presidente.
Called for their release in an attempt
President
to stop the petition. Top White House and Justice Department officials, including the Attorney General and FBI Director, attempting to pressure Congresswoman Lauren Boebert into removing her name from it, meeting with her Wednesday in the Situation Room. But it didn't work. Boebert, ultimately one of 4 Republicans who signed on in support. We pressed the White House.
Trump,
But given your
Reagan.
interest in transparency, Caroline, why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please?
It comes just hours after House Democrats released those emails.
Yeah, no, that definitely is what it shows. The question was about lack of transparency, about these files that are, you know, that's information the public wants to know, and how Donald Trump is thwarting the efforts to release those files, as in transparency. Excuse me, why won't you applaud our transparent efforts to deny you more information about this thing, about the president being deeply connected to an Israeli Mossad CIA trafficking network operator? Why won't you recognize how transparent we are being, how forthcoming we are being about how we're stopping you from finding out more information about this thing?
Obtained from the Epstein estate, showing the convicted offender discussing Trump and seeming to suggest he had information he never shared. In a 2011 exchange with his co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein writing the quote, "dog that hasn't barked is Trump," adding one of his victims spent hours with Trump at Epstein's home, but that Trump had never once been mentioned. Maxwell replying, "I have been thinking about that." House Republicans in the White House identifying the victim as Virginia Giuffre, who once worked at Trump's spa at Mar-a-Lago. Giuffre said she never saw Trump do anything inappropriate. She died by suicide earlier this year. In a 2018 text exchange, someone whose name is redacted wrote to Epstein, "It will all blow over. They're really just trying to take down Trump and doing whatever they can to do that." The context of the message is unclear, but Epstein responding, "It's wild because I am the one able to take him down." Trump and Epstein were friends for more than a decade.
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
After Epstein's arrest in 2019, Trump said he hadn't spoken to him in 15 years. He insists he broke off the friendship when he learned Epstein and Maxwell were luring away young female staffers who worked at Mar-a-Lago.
He stole people that worked for me. I said, he did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it.
In a 2019 email to author Michael Wolff, Epstein writing, Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking. Sources say she's angling for a pardon, and when asked about it, Trump hasn't ruled it out. Now, as for that petition to force the files release, Speaker Johnson, who's gone to great lengths to...
That was one of the crazier defenses from the Trump side, by the way. Okay, we're getting increasingly more orange. I have to fix this shit. What the hell? I have no idea how to fix this, but we have to fix this. This is crazy. I am the most orange I've ever been. He's orange for an amazing reason. This is like Mexico filter. You can set the white balance on the camera to auto and have less orange reddish tint. I don't know how to do it. No, it is auto white balanced right now. Wait, what the fuck? Wait, it just... I didn't even touch anything and it automatically fixed it. How is that? That's so strange. Anyway, the camera's tired of your shit. I know. And I got the gray bars. Oh my God, everything is fucking up. It's because you left the camera in auto white balance for the lighting in the room without you in the frame. True. Bro, that's that Mexico filter. Oh no, you sound sicky. Yeah, I mean, who would have thought? I'm 34 and, as a 34-year-old sleeping like 4 hours every night on the entire other side of the planet. Yeah, it's the window in the back. I got it. I know. It's insane how Twitter liberals are losing their minds over you being in China and enjoying it. That was expected. That was expected. It is what it is. It is what it is, chatters.
Avoid a vote, now says he'll bring it to the floor next week.
Right, and
George.
you talk about great links, Mayor. Pretty extraordinary to have the
I'll lower the game.
Attorney General and the FBI Director in the White House Situation Room lobbying a member of Congress. We've never really seen anything like that before.
We certainly haven't, George. They are going to great lengths, as you said, to try and stop these full files from being released. But as we said, that effort simply didn't work here yesterday.
Mary Bruce, thanks.
This morning, the pressure is mounting on President Trump and the Justice Department to release all of the files related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. After a House committee made public 20,000 more pages of documents, the House is now set to vote on the matter next week. And among those demanding full transparency...
You know what I find particularly crazy about this entire story? And I have not met anybody that's like giving me a reasonable answer on this, but I did see someone. I saw someone on Twitter talk about it like this was a positive. Like someone on Twitter was like, oh, you mean to tell me Joe Biden's weaponized DOJ was sitting on all this information and they didn't use it? And I looked at that and I was like, yeah, why didn't he use this? Like it just in general. Like that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing that Biden just like didn't bring this up. Hello? That's not a positive for Biden. That's a negative. I know the argument that you are trying to craft here is that there is no weaponized DOJ, but like it kind of pisses me off that they were sitting on this stuff. The files were sealed. No, I mean it kind of feels like they knew a lot more than they let on, and the fact that we were just not. The fact that we were kept in the dark about this is crazy, but I think it's because of the Israel connection, for sure.
Epstein's survivors. Here is one of those survivors who talked to Aaron Burnett.
We need the government to release everything that's in these files, of course, with the appropriate redactions to protect the privacy of the survivors. But we really need this information to be out there so these crimes can be investigated. I think it's really upsetting to us that this is so politicized when it's not a political issue and it's a crime of sex trafficking. And we really just want to see justice for the crime that happened to us.
Survivor Liz Stein there, just asking for justice. CNN's Harry Enton is here with us. Now, look, when you talk to you hear from the victims, it is very clear what they want. They've made that clear again and again. What does the American public think about how Donald Trump has been handling the Epstein files compared to all the other issues that he brought up during the campaign?
Yeah, you know, Donald Trump is underwater on basically every single issue he ran on in 2024. But the Epstein files, the Epstein case, are especially dreadful for him. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look at Trump's net approval rating on the issue. Look, they're all in red. They're all in the negative territory. But on immigration, you know, he's 5 points underwater. Foreign policy, 8 points. Trade and tariffs, he's 7.
Why didn't Biden release the files? Besides that question showing how little you understand about the basic government, the better question is the Biden? No, it's not even this. This is not the tweet I was looking at. I've seen a bunch of other liberals also post this tweet, though. Like, the tweet I saw was basically straightforwardly defending Biden not releasing the files because, like, the DOJ is not weaponized. And I was like, I think you're missing the forest for the trees here. I think the real question is, why didn't they release it?
17 points, the economy 18 points. But look at the Epstein case. He is 39 points below water on the Epstein case. His net approval is 39 points in the negative. My goodness gracious. What Donald Trump has been selling on the Epstein files, the Epstein case, the American people, simply put, have not been buying at all, Sarah Seidner.
All right, so is there any sign that things have gotten better since there have been some things that have been released?
Yeah, okay.
Although released by Democrats.
There have been some things that have been released. Donald Trump has been trying to make some sort of case saying that, you know, the folks don't necessarily care about it. But take a look here. Approve of the Trump admin on the Epstein case in early July, right, when you had those DOJ droppings, right? It was 17%. Look at where we were by late September, the latest poll I can find it. 20%. You know, we often talk about Donald Trump having this floor, right, of at about 40%. On this particular issue, he is less than half the level of the supposed floor. There's just nobody. There is just nobody in the electorate who is buying this. They do not like the way that the Trump administration has been handling this case one iota.
Republicans have generally said they like what Donald Trump is doing, generally speaking. How do they feel about the Epstein case?
It's, they're doing, this is John King style election coverage, but on Trump's Trump's pedophilia allegations. This is the state of affairs. This is the dire state of affairs in the United States of America, where we're straight up doing Super Bowl style coverage over whether the president fucked children or not. It is insane. What the hell, man? What the hell? And then people fucking yell at me over going to China and visiting. Brother, hit the escape anywhere you can, okay? Any moment that you spend away from the United States of America is probably good at this stage. You know, take a trip down to Mexico. See other countries for a little bit. You know, it's time. Sometimes it's good to just cool off from America just a little bit, you know, because this is what we're up to. This is what's popping off in the United States of America. Like, we've already moved on from the president diddling children, and we're now looking at like whether the president's base of support is still on board with the president diddling children. Okay. They're like, yeah, what are you going to do? The president diddled kids, but also like, you know, is that chill or not with the people who voted for the president? How many people are saying, no, you don't understand. I voted for him because he was diddling kids, for example. That's awesome. That's where we're at.
Okay, so you see, approve of Trump on the Epstein case. This is overall, right? And you see 17%, you say 20%. That is way below the 40% floor that Donald Trump supposedly has. How does that possibly happen? It's because of Republicans. Because look at this number. Okay, Republicans who approve of Trump's job as president, 87%. That is basically in line with the long-term average, 85, 90, 95%. But look at the Trump admin's job on the Epstein case. Just 45% of Republicans, less than half of Republicans.
He's got to be doing it on purpose, right? When he says Trump admins, like, it has to be on purpose, right? I know that's not the point, but goddamn, I can't stop paying attention to him going, the Trump admins, the Trump admins. Mr. Holy Toledo is basically speaking a different language than all of us. You might think he's speaking English, but he has invented his own version. Did you see liberal Spider-Man get his brain bricked by pedo debate bros finally? I did not. I don't know what you mean by that.
either. But the current choice for hogs are: do you want dear leader to diddle kids or Democrats to change their gender without parents' consent? Yeah. So, okay. So yeah. The question in the minds of Republicans is, do you want a real active potential pedophile to remain being president, or do you want insert made up thing? Insert made up concept. What? We've entered the raping children isn't bad territory? Oh no. I mean, I guess for some people it's already kind of been there, right? And it's not just like random people that liberal Spider-Man is debating that's trying to hit the old school lines of pedophilia defense. It's also Megyn Kelly, but let's take a look at what this...
Are you asking me why it's wrong to rape children?
Yeah, I need you to tell me why it is wrong in your eyes
to rape children.
To do that. Yes. Do you need me to repeat it? Can you not hear me? Do you have too many cocks in your ears, or what's up? Why is it wrong? Is that too hard of a question? You can mute me with the background noise if you want. I'm ready to hear your answer.
You know, it's really funny because I did talk to Dean about this eventually happening to him, because as you guys know, this is basically where you end up arriving at when you do debates. Like, you will always eventually arrive at a guy who wants to debate this. Hello, I've been seeing clips of you and wanted to come check you out to debunk the slander. Been watching for a few days. Hell yeah. I hope you are enjoying the show, I guess. Even though the show that we are watching currently is the fall of America in the hands of straight up pedophiles and their defenders. Not exactly the best time.
It's happening. It's actually happening.
That pearl clutching is so beta. Why don't you actually answer the question?
The pearl clutching is so beta. I feel like anybody that Dean talks to is just faking. I'm sorry. I just can't, in good conscience, believe that this is a real human being. Like, I feel like they just really, like, they're trolling, right? They have to be. Fantastic context that you warned him. Yes. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it happen. Every single one of these guys, not Dean, I'm saying, but like every single one of these like people who love debating and enjoy the spirit of debate end up trying to find an issue that in their minds they can rationalize. I don't know if they are like actual honest to God pedophiles, but it probably, I mean, they most likely are, right? Because otherwise, why the fuck would you ever even think about logically trying to justify this sort of thing, right? And yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. That's just how this works. That's how it always works. You start off with like something innocuous, maybe a political disagreement you have with the other side, and then boom, one day you constantly keep increasing the intensity over and over and over again about like the subject matter that you want to discuss, and you're like, ooh, what's the most like untouchable subject matter? It's always incest and then eventually pedophilia.
It's actually happening. He's calling me a pearl clutcher for saying that child rape is wrong.
No, because I asked the question. Why are you?
I didn't think this one would happen.
Yeah, you were wrong. They were definitely always going to move there, both on the debate side, but also they were definitely always going to move there on the Trump side. This is like traditional conservatism, by the way. This is like the OG libertarians. Yeah, GOP 1984, It's Morning in America, 2000, Compassionate Conservatism, 2020. The proper term is ephebophilia. Let the history record that I called it in 2017, says Jeet here. And he did. He did call it. He was just a little too early. They needed to wait. This is from 2017. But the reason why he was able to call this is because, like, as I've talked about before, a lot of these influential libertarian thinkers, for example, they have had very similar takes, okay? And if the heart of your movement, if the like logical conclusion of your movement for some is anarcho-capitalism or like, you know, libertarianism in the way that Americans understand it, right? Then yeah, it's eventually going to move in that direction. And if you have more authoritarian tendencies, and libertarianism also is like, you know, devastating, chaotic, all this stuff. But like, if you have the more authoritarian tendencies, you're going to become, like, depending on whether you think you should be able to smoke weed and that, migrants should be able to travel freely, you will either become the maximum bottom right quadrant libertarian who also will argue about lowering age of consent laws or abolishing it in its entirety, or you'll go to the top right quadrant where you will become a Nazi and you will advocate to put migrants in concentration camps. You will still most likely become a pedophile, though. I don't know why, but that's just how it works. I think a lot of people enjoy, like, getting a rise out of the other person that they're talking to, and then they, like, slowly but surely entertain this stuff, and they go, haha, I'm rage baiting. But, like, they don't realize, and this is something that I've seen on the internet quite a bit, they don't realize that in the process of rage baiting, you look like a pedophile, right? Like, you are outing yourself as a pedophile. I think the corrosive aspect of that kind of back and forth communication, of course, is that it normalizes it a little bit. Not even a little bit, but a lot. And I don't like that. I don't want to live in a world where pedophilia is considered appropriate. And yet here we are. Anyway, so that's that was Dean's approach.
As for
but here it is. Here is the other side of this, the intellectual giant of Megyn Kelly, talking to Batya Ungar Sargon of Akkad, or whatever the fuck her name is. Megyn Kelly.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like, he liked 15-year-old girls.
Barely legal? No, that's barely legal is 18 plus. 15 is not barely legal, Megan. 15 is illegal, actually. Like, very much so. And for the record, I hate the fucking counters on this shit because people will be like, well, actually, what about Romeo and Juliet laws? And it's like, yeah, okay. Romeo and Juliet laws are so that that people that are in the age range that started dating before one of the two people actually became 18 years old, so they don't, like, unnecessarily go to fucking prison, okay? That's not for, like, a 50-year-old to try and date a 15-year-old. That's for, a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old dating, and then one party becomes 18 and the other one is 17. That's what Romeo and Juliet laws are for, okay? So I don't know why you're running around with this, like, laminated card of Romeo and Juliet statutes in every fucking state. What the fuck? Incredible work, man. Incredible work. Wait, hold on. Where is it? Oh.
And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into, like, 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn, now they call it child sexual abuse material, on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh, no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. Look, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. Yeah. It's just whatever.
Thank you. That's cool. That's a cool. Thank you. There's a distinction between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. That's insane, man. That's fucking insane. The only people who are who are arguing for this are people who get off on having power over someone or have been convinced that they should want to be controlled. They like being able to be in control. I mean, yeah. Okay, you probably have a daughter or a child that is that age, right? How would you feel if Jeffrey Epstein was trying to and was actually moving her around the world without her consent, because she is incapable of consenting, and having sex with her, raping her? Because that's what it is. It's not devoid of consent, so it is rape. Like, do you think it's appropriate? Megyn Kelly defending pedophilia before GTA 6 was not on my timeline. I mean, if you know how Republicans operate, then you know that it's not. Yeah, what makes it extra gross is Megyn Kelly's a preteen daughter. Are you okay with Donald Trump having sex with yardlers or other people's sacrifice? That's crazy that she literally has a daughter that is at the same. I dead no hella predators, but I still hang with them just to see how their mind work. That tweet is so funny. I can't believe we just snapped into something humorous in a not so humorous situation. But like, I don't know, but I think we should keep the social stigma around pedophilia. And before people go, actually, it's ephebophilia, the argument that you're presenting, as I always like to say, is that you think some minors are fuckable, okay? Because that's what you're saying. When you say, actually, it's ephebophilia, it's not a baby, you're just parsing through. Like, technically, even if you are correct in terms of like the designation between like children versus preteens, okay, the argument that you're presenting is that you find some minors, some kids, to be sexually attractive, and you are trying to justify having sex with them, raping them. It's fucking insane. Like, you're basically saying like there's a different type of pedophilia that I think is fine, which, you know, maybe controversial take. Yeah, before people say classic John Marco joke, by the way, I've been saying that for years, okay? He has a really good joke about this, for sure. But in all of my many years of duking it out in the marketplace with debate lords, I've often used this counter argument over and over again. The distinction only matters in the realm of psychopathology. Yeah, it's black-pilled Andrew Fogel. I can't believe I spent like 10 years studying the immortal science of dialectical materialism only to find out that the central truth of American politics is that we are governed by demonic pedophile cabal. What if all the authoritarian purges in China are just protecting these people from pedophile-occupied government? Pog. Yeah, it's not Zog. It turns out it's Pog. That's the one unifying factor, it seems. Okay? It's just these guys, regardless of their ideological leanings, their or their worldview or their, you know, background, religious beliefs, it's actually Pog. They are united in the one singular thing. Turns out the conspiracy theorists were right, that these guys all just find themselves captivated by the allure of this very famous pedophile sex trafficker. What an insane moment, dude. Anyway, let's hear what AOC had to say about the Epstein stuff.
I'm wondering, you saw these emails that came out from the House Oversight Committee. What is your, what do you think it shows you about what we know about Trump's relationship with Epstein?
Well, you know, I think we've been seeing Republicans have been trying to deflect and imply that, I mean, even House Speaker Mike Johnson had insinuated a couple months ago that Trump was on some kind of secret mission. I think what these emails demonstrate is precisely why House Republicans have been trying to block the release of the Epstein files for months now. I think it illustrates in a very damning way, and I think it also implicates House Speaker Mike Johnson as well, as to why he has refused to call the House back into session for over a month now and prevent the 218th signature from releasing the Epstein files, which is that Donald Trump had a very close personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and that he had personally spent time with victims in the Epstein operation. And I think that this is just, I mean, it's horrifying. It's horrifying.
GOP, guardians of pedophiles. Good one, chatter. Will the hardcore Trumpers ever come around on this? Or are they just going to heavily chip around the margins? I think some will.
Buying what the administration is telling. Look, we're not necessarily sure whether or not this case has moved the ball on Trump's overall approval rating yet, but I can tell you that the more that this case is in the news, the worse it is for Donald Trump, because simply put, it is his worst issue by far.
We could be seeing a vote on this next week. This case is not going away anytime soon.
It is not going away.
New York Times also dropped this bombshell investigative report on Matt Gaetz. New for the first time, the story of the 17-year-old girl who testified that she had sex with Matt Gaetz for money. She was living in and out of homeless shelter. She was working at McDonald's. She had just finished her junior year in high school, and she wanted extra money to try and save up to pay for braces to fix her teeth. Dude, this country is so fucked. Like, this is evil shit on the Matt Gaetz side. Absolutely. But like, the system is also demonic. You have to understand, this is a twofer. The system is demonic first and foremost because we have victimized this 17-year-old. No 17-year-old should be homeless, man. No one should be homeless. A 17-year-old girl who is homeless is living in a homeless shelter while working a job at McDonald's, finishing her junior year in high school, and then doing this to pay for braces to fix her teeth. Do you think Democrats are on it too? I think they have anything. Think they have anything to worry about? Yes. What? Yes. Chatter? Yes. What did I just say? It's POG. Pedophile occupied government is bipartisan, is uniparty. Pedophilia is uniparty. Okay. What do you mean? Bill Clinton is like the most famous and perhaps the most like, Bill Clinton is the most famous example of like a high profile Democrat who was directly associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And the reason why a lot of Republicans actually got on the Epstein train and were constantly needling at it, constantly talking about it, was because they thought this was a Democrat pedophile operation. They thought this would finally, they thought that this would finally expose the elite pedophile cabal that the Democrats were running, not realizing that it was just bipartisan always. Okay? It was bipartisan all along. It's crazy that you sound like QAnon, but not crazy. Who'd have thought we'd end up here? I mean, I've always been I've always paid close attention to the Epstein stuff, as you guys know, for many, many years. So this is not that shocking to me. It was always also a nuisance for me to constantly have to like go over the QAnon stuff and like redirect people's attention to real events like the Epstein conspiracy, not a conspiracy theory, but a conspiracy that conspired to do crimes, as opposed to like the most nonsensical versions of these events, which revolve around, you know, and conspiracies of that sort. I know we jokingly offered lip service to Pizzagate now, but Pizzagate is like the most bass boosted and silly version of this. And in many ways, it serves the purpose of a distraction away from the real version of events. Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, in an email to former Obama Deputy Counsel Kathy Rumler, suggested providing girls to illicit powerful figures, including Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, who, by the way, as you guys know, is J.D. Vance's mega donor, and the reason why J.D. Vance is the vice president to begin with. Peter Thiel is single-handedly responsible for J.D. Vance becoming a senator, and Peter Thiel is almost single-handedly responsible for J.D. Vance becoming the vice president. Also, former CIA Director Bill Burns, former UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown, former Norwegian Prime Minister Thorbjørn Jagland, former Mongolian president, and officials from the UAE, India, and Qatar. Talking to Obama Deputy Counsel Kathy Rumler about the UN General Assembly in 2014. Most girls don't have to worry about this crap. Understood it comes down to high risk reward, low risk reward, professional, emotional, and financial. Agreed, but I need to be prepared to say yes before I talk to him. You need to talk to boss. I think this email is not indicating he was arranging girls for all of them, but the word girls got him to say, careful, I will renew an old habit. I don't know. You always go to a different country when shit is hella fucked here. Okay, but you also have to realize shit is hella fucked in America all the time. So it's impossible for me to... I would have to just like stay... Even if I stayed in America the entire time, I would still encounter this kind of thing because it's just like virtually impossible. If you are covering American politics, there's going to be some fuck shit happening. America is a very fucked up country.